Hey everyone, welcome once again to the Connecting Greeks podcast. I am Ari and I am here with my two favorite co-hosts. First in the line is Foti Stamos. How are you, Foti?
I'm great because I'm the first in line, as
Oh,
always.
well, don't get a big head about this because I saved the best for last.
Ah, you got me.
And that is Angelo Tsarouches. What's up, Angelo?
Hi, Ari. Hi, second in line, 14. How are you? You're drinking a Nouveau Beaujolais? Are you having a Cabernet Sauvignon?
As an OG Greek, I'm gonna bump you out of first place at some point.
First place.
Oh, that's a challenge right there. All right. So, guys, Angelo, what's going on today? What do we got?
Listen, we got two great guests on the show today. We have the founder of KTE and media director. They're brothers, which is good to see synergy together. They address things that actually lately have been coming up a lot for people in the diaspora. And there's some good questions here today. And I'm sure the guys would have some good answers to it. We have Alexandros Benis and Christos Benis of KTE. Welcome to Connecting Greeks, guys.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you so much for having us on. It's a pleasure to be here, really. So
good to be here. So, look, I went on your website. Forty is a big fans of you guys, and I've been looking at the stuff. You're addressing some interesting issues about Greeks in the diaspora, and as an entertainer in the diaspora who goes to Greece, it's very interesting. And I'm going to present this to you right off the top, guys, because this is right in your wheelhouse. So I did an interview with a Macedonian newspaper yesterday. And it's interesting what the reporter said to me. She said, it's interesting now. Things are still difficult in Greece. She goes, pensions are not up to par. And she goes, it's tough. A lot of people have left Greece to go work in other countries, as we know, but it's getting better. It's getting better. There's no doubt. I'm not sitting here. She said, I think you guys in the diaspora have a more passion about Greece than we have right now. And she says, how does that come through in your comedy? Because she goes, I've watched your, and I'm using me as an example here. She goes, I watch your comedy clips. You talk about being Greek, because I grew up in Canada and I live in LA now. And you've traveled the world. You talk about the similarities, which they exactly 100% do exist. But she said, you don't mock the Greeks, although some people think I do, or make fun of them. But she says, it seems to me that, now this is what the reporter said. She said, is it easier to love Greece outside of Greece because we have regular jobs? And when I'm saying regular jobs, meaning there's more employment, there may be more opportunities, as opposed to, and that's what I was telling Ari and Forte. Some people, I love Greece. I'm moving there. Yeah, I got 20 grand in my pocket. I'm there for 7 weeks. So I'm making it rain. I'm in Mykonos. I'm in Santorini. I'm in Rhodos. You know what I'm saying? I'm at festivals. What better place is there to go in the world than Greece ever? And we all know that's where the place is. But do you find, and this is right in your wheelhouse, guys, because I saw KTE, and I love the questions that you put on your website, and things that you're talking about, colonization within Greece, how people view Greece, from the diaspora. How do you're the new generation now? Because I'm sure when you talk to people, I know it's a loaded question here, but I just wanted to get layered for you. A lot of people now ask me, I go, look, my question is, when everybody asks me, I say everybody should go visit Greece once in their life. And tourism is booming in Greece. But the truth is, I did a TED Talk in Patra. When you talk to the younger people, there's not as many opportunities as we may think. And because we go with loaded pockets of cash and we're Greek, we love it. But what's your view of this perspective?
Right. So what you're
right. Alexandros, I want to jump in real quick and just so because there's many parts. It's a great question. We don't mind loaded questions, by the way, because as you say, it's right in our wheelhouse. So Alexandros, you're the talker, you're the brains behind this operation. You're going to say the bulk of what is said here today. I'm just the guy pressing the buttons. But what I will say is that to address the matter of pride, Greek diasporans have to seek out their community, usually in church, right? We're prideful because we're very intentional about keeping that heritage alive, whether it's cuisine, language, religion, dance, general culture, all of these things. Whereas in Greece, you know, they are right there with the problems. Everyone knows there's problems in Greece. And part of KTE, the reason why we're starting this organization, is to have the Greek diaspora help Greece with their economic, social, and cultural problems. But yes, I think that over here in the diaspora, whether it's in Canada, whether it's in America, whether it's in Australia, Germany, South Africa, I go on and on and on, you know, we have a romanticized view of our homeland. Our job as, I guess, founders of KTE is to try to cut through that romanticization, and think of solutions, exciting, realistic solutions. And Alexandros, you can talk now.
Well said.
That was a great start. I think what he's getting at is a historical thing that's occurred with diaspora everywhere, but I think it's happened in a more amplified way with the Greek diaspora. So first, you have to consider the time at which our ancestors left Greece to come to America. Most of them came at a time when Greece was more ruralistic. It was much more traditionalistic. It was very religious.
Yeah.
It was just a very, you know, cohesive society. And they came and they brought that to America, to a foreign country, and they had to build a community with the values that they all shared. And they had to, like Christophoros said, you have to build a very intentional community. Those things became part of everyday life. So again, we actually did a video on this where it's like, if a young Greek American wants to learn how to dance or wants to learn how to speak Greek or wants to, you know, eat Greek food or get in with the Greek community, he does those things at a church. He does those things, again, very intentionally, has to seek them out. Whereas in Greece, those things exist just everywhere. They're on the street. Like if you want to learn how to Greek dance, there's like 10 panegyrides this month. You can go to any of them and you can learn how to dance. But if you're a Greek American, you want to learn how to dance, you take like lessons. So I just think it points to a fundamental difference where in the diaspora, you're forced to be much more intentional because culture, Greek culture, isn't right there at your fingertips most of the time. It's something you really have to look for. And then again, considering the time at which people left, you know, again, national pride, patriotism, deep religiosity is something that was passed down to us from our grandparents or great grandparents or maybe even parents. And I think that the sort of attitude we have is in sort of the upbringing that I had, and I think I speak for many Greek Americans and Greek diaspora when I say this, is we received the values of our grandparents. And for them that was again like your religion, your culture, your language, like all these things were of the utmost importance, and there was no way to replace any of them. I think that kind of answers your question. So I think there's two things, you know, again, intentionality, and also we're a product of our environment, and where does our environment come from? Who's it constructed by? It's people who grew up in like the 50s and 60s in Greece, and is a different world then.
Well, because here's the thing, I did this thing about old Greek sayings, right, Ari? These are old things. Now, what's happened? Because when I went to Greece 10 years ago to do the show, a lot of those sayings they forgot about.
Mm-hmm.
You see what happened?
Oh, we have them still.
I remember the thing I do about reversing it to English and what does it mean? The Greeks had forgotten about this.
Yeah.
And what happened, it caught on. During COVID, people were like, oh my God, the Katsastavgas or the Fosk, all that stuff now, which everybody's duplicated a million times now. But the thing is, the guy, when I did the interview with the guy, I said to the guy, look, my dad left Greece during Civil War, 15 years old, 1949. So you have to understand, a lot of the stuff that we learned was outside of Greece. And you're absolutely right, but with the language and with the food, and you see other cultures. I know Italian Americans, 7, 8, 9 generations. They don't even know where their families are from in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm Italian. Where's your family from? I don't know. Yeah. So I made a point, and I think, I took my daughter to Greece. I took her to Daphne. We did a reunion thing. I showed my daughter where her papu is from. Next year, we're going to go to Mytilene, where Yaya's from. I think it's also the responsibility. And of course, there's so many other factors. Now marriages are mixed marriages. Some people may not feel as attached to it. Although I always think that the Greek side wins over, male or female. Getting married to a Greek, you're like, you've never been to more baptisms, kiddes, and weddings in your life. But one of the things that you guys had listed was the colonization, and I'm going to tie this into this because something happened just last week. We were talking with the guys. There was a TV series called Famagusta, which was the true account of the invasion and occupation of Cyprus 50 years ago in July. And it's a real thing that happened. And what happened? Netflix said, we're going to show it. And everybody got excited. The Turkish government was not happy about it. And they blocked it on Netflix. All politics, of course. America has big bases. We know what's going on in Ukraine. We know what's going on in the Middle East with Israel and Palestine and Hezbollah with Hamas and all that stuff. So they took it off. And I wrote something. I tagged Netflix and said, hey, Netflix, you should keep your word and show this true account of events that happened. The world wants to see it. So politics still play a factor. And although there's American naval bases in Crete, we have this. It's a very pivotal piece of the world, Turkey. And the interesting thing to me about it is that HEPA addressed it. I think other people addressed it. Say, look, man, why can't the world see this? And that's why what you guys are doing, and it's very important. It's almost the same like what we're doing here on Connecting Greeks. We're synergizing here, right? And the thing of the matter is that the more information people have, I think the more aware, and maybe it'll make them want to attach themselves to that. Like now, film programs in Greece, like you said, education or working remote or whatever the case may be. And so was this, Alexandros, was this spark, like what got you and your brother involved in this, that you guys wanted to do this? It's very interesting.
Well, when you mention Famagusta, it's a funny thing. Just a quick note on that. A lot of people, like Americans, like come up to me. They're like, "Oh, like why do you guys don't get along with the Turks? Like, what's wrong with that? This is like it fell in 1453. Like Constantinople. Like, what are you talking about?" And I say, do you have any idea? Like, do you know when the last genocide took place against Greeks? Like, oh, I don't know. It's like, that was the 70s. This is the last time that there was, a focused ethnic cleansing operation against Greeks. This is in the 1970s. Like, my parents were alive at that time. This isn't like ancient history. So, as far as like Famagusta goes and all of these, and this issue, there's big things happening in the world today. We don't want to ignore what's going on in Ukraine. We don't want to ignore what's going on in Palestine or in Lebanon. But we have half of historic Greek land to this day is illegally occupied. And I'm not even talking about Anatolia. I'm talking about the island of Cyprus, which was invaded in 1970, in the 1970s, 73 or 74. And
74,
don't know this. Yeah, 74. And a lot of people don't know this. One of the reasons why Netflix is going along with Turkey, and this is what I believe, is that many people don't know that the United States greenlit the invasion of Cyprus because one of Turkey's bargaining chips was that it held nuclear weapons for the United States on their territory at that time. And Henry Kissinger personally approved the invasion of Cyprus. A lot of people don't really know that.
Yeah.
So I think, again, the United States government is reluctant to step in more forcefully on Greece's behalf because they have this political capital built up with Turkey, which has many implications in today's politics. But one of the most egregious of them, of course, is the illegal occupation of Cyprus. So that's a little bit of an aside. But then to talk about KTE and the reasons why this whole thing started, if anyone has been to Greece in the last 10 years, at least since the financial crisis, they can see how much it's changed, even in the last 5 years. And it's changing on many levels. We're having serious demographic change, mass exodus of educated young people. 160,000 people left Greece in 2023. Huge problem. you mentioned colonization. We're talking about the cultural colonization or the cultural imperialism of Western culture, rap music, McDonald's, all of these sorts of things. They're seeping into Greece proper and, Greek society in, I think, harmful ways. You also see how, even though, again, you mentioned that the economy is getting better, we're still coming out of the worst, any country, the worst economic situation a country's had in the 21st century is happening in Greece. So when I see like all of these things happening, and I see kind of how Greece, unfortunately, is backed into like this corner, um, simply put, I don't like it, and I think that there has to be something that's done about it. And I think that the path forward in every single one of these issues, it involves the diaspora. I think there's no way around it. Like there needs to be the meaningful inclusion of the diaspora in Greek society. There are about 10 million Greeks living in Greece, and there is anywhere from 4 to 7 million Greeks living outside of the country. And a lot of them are very passionate about Greece. They're very passionate about their Greek heritage. They're very traditional. They're very religious. They're also really well educated, really well capitaled. They're really well connected. They're people who are, business owners. They're doctors. They're lawyers. They're professors. The Greek government needs to meaningfully engage these people if they want to get out of the situation that they're in. On a political and social level, there needs to be some inclusion of the 4 to 7 million people living outside of Greece who are very, very devoted to their homeland. And I think I'm one of them. My older brother's one of them. And the more people we talk to, the more people that realize that this project exists, the more people are saying, hey, I'm in that camp too. I'm an educated person. I love my Greek heritage. I want to live in Greece somehow. I want to invest in Greece. But again, for a lot of reasons, political and, problems with government bureaucracy, there's a lot of roadblocks. Getting your citizenship is a shit show. Buying land in Greece is even worse. Opening a business in Greece is a nightmare. Anyone who lives in Greece will tell you that they have all of these problems. So sort of the inspiration is, well, we can use the diaspora to generate political pressure and incentivize or sort of, force the hand of the government to say, hey, okay, like we kind of need to shake them awake a little bit, the Greek government. Like, hey, you guys have problems. We can help. Are you going to let us help or not? That's sort of the game plan. And the first step is building a community of Greek Americans or Greek Australians or Greek diaspora generally who say, hey, we want to help our country. We love our country. We want to live there. We think we can help. We can help. So let's do this. And then the next step would be to lobby the Greek government and find ways to make all these things easier, make getting citizenship easier, make getting buying a house or starting a business, make all these things more accessible. So sorry, I'm rambling a little bit, but that's the
it's good
thesis right there.
It's perfect.
Now, if I may, because Angelo, I think something you said, gosh, 5-10 minutes ago is actually very, very interesting and important and integral to this discussion. Okay, you mentioned these 6th, 7th, or 8th generation Italian Americans who don't know where they're from in Italy. Okay, so we're talking about Greece and the diaspora and how we can, bridge the gap. Okay, across the sea from Greece, there are Greek Americans who are sort of in that boat. Not quite yet, because Greeks do pretty well with cultural preservation because of their tethering of cultural values and preservation with the churches. But Alexandros and I were 2nd generation Greek Americans, okay? Our papudes, they came over, during the Civil War years, and they made their lives in America. But 3rd generation and 4th generation Greek Americans, or even 2nd generation Greek Americans like us and Greek diasporans, they're having a choice to make because cultural erosion is a real thing. The longer you spend in America, the further you will get from your roots. It's a fact, no matter how hard we try to concentrate and hold on to those values and those roots. So the radical new idea that we have is, hey, with all that, like Alexandros said, with all the Greek pride and the resources and the education and the hopes and dreams, it's getting a little romantic, but the hopes and dreams we have for Greece as Greek Americans, why not return to Greece and try to improve the system? Not as a hostile takeover, but in partnership with Greece. And yes, we want to shake them awake. But that does tie back to what you said, Angelo.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, Ari, what do you think?
I don't want to get like sidetracked, but I just want to say when we first booked you guys as guests, and I saw that you're 21 and 23, I was like, how much could they possibly even understand the situation?
I'm impressed.
And I'm sitting here listening, and I'm like, these guys are on top of it. Like, wow. I am very impressed with the level of how involved and how understanding you are of the subject. So, like, that's first off what I wanted to say. Like, this is the generation right here that like makes me feel better about our future as Greeks, because we've had many a conversation over the years. We've Foti and I and Angelo, I mean, in his career, has been involved in the Greek scene for 20 plus years. I mean, probably longer than you guys have been alive. Yeah. And we've heard it all, and we have seen the problem. We've discussed the problem. We've talked to heads of state. We've talked to politicians. We've talked to industry. We've talked to everybody. And, we all understand that there's a problem with our Greek culture going forward into the future. But man, this is the first time I felt positive about our Greek future with the youth. And I commend you guys on that level of like commitment you guys have and of understanding the actual problems, not just like, oh yeah, Greeks, the Greek culture is going away.
Okay, so Ari, I gotta say, obviously that's a great compliment. But look, the reason now, Alexandros again is the brains behind the operation. I'm more of the social media guy. That's why I got the title media director. He's the thinker. He's the doer. These are all really his ideas, and I'm just sort of along for the ride. But I want to say that it's because for us we're done with the finger pointing. Okay, obviously there are reasons for Greece's problems, but we're done just with the cynicism of, oh, it's the economy, oh, it's the politicians, they're all wolves, they're all power hungry. That may be true, but God, like, glory to God, let's do something about it, okay? Yeah. And for Alexandros,
I think there has to be an element of idealism, because with all the things going on in Greece, you have to be a little bit romantic, I think you don't have a choice.
True.
But it should be said that, like, look, the funny voice you just put on Ari, like, oh, Greek culture is going away. To Alexandros and I and a lot of people that follow our organization now, which is brand new, by the way, only 2 months old, really, on social media. Greek heritage and our idealism is not a fashion statement. Okay, we do not believe that we can put our goals for Greece, our politics, our heritage, our blood up on the shelf and then take it off 2 weeks out of the year. We go back to Greece to wear it like a fashion statement. Okay, being Greek is not a part-time job, and that's part of our main message.
Preach.
Well, if I can add, gentlemen, to this great conversation of where we're at as Greek Americans, because you just mentioned something about, in Ari's point to, Greeks or Greece or our culture is going away, is your involvement in what you're doing also has to resonate with our audience who are part of a community, whether it's, their church community or some sort of a society organization, that we have to also show up locally to our local initiatives. So you listen to every church organization that's lacking volunteers, they're lacking support, they're lacking attendance.
Yeah.
We got to start there and bring us together so that we can discuss the great initiatives that you're discussing about how do we keep our culture going. So it's a group effort here to begin and then transfer that over to Greece, because to your point, individually we're fascinating, amazing individuals, but collectively is where we got to kind of bridge everything together so that we can be more powerful.
Well, Foti, you bring up a good point, and let me ask you guys a question. So I sat down with the metropolis of Boston years ago, and I posed a question to him. I was like, from my perspective, we have roughly about 2 to 3 generations before the Greek culture has gone from America. And I posed to him the question, like, what do you think about that? And he was like, so what you're saying is your kid, most of this generation, well, the younger generation, because this was years ago, are going to marry non-Greeks most likely, because that's kind of the trend. and then their kids are going to marry non-Greeks. So you have like a full Greek marrying a non-Greek that makes half Greek kids. Then those Greek kids are going to marry non-Greeks. That makes a quarter Greek kids. And then that third generation down is going to be no Greek whatsoever. That scared the hell out of me because I can't imagine living any other lifestyle than being an American of Greek descent, having my Greek friends and going to Greek nights and dancing Greek and going to the festival, and then my American friends going to like a frat party and like going to do whatever. Like that's so cool to me. And I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I'm like, so these children are full Greek, but are they going to marry Greeks? Are they going to be like part of that? I mean, what as 21 and 23, like what does that mean to you? Is that something that's real? Is that something that frightens you? Is that something that's just in my old crazy head? Or like, well, how do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I can answer that question. Well, first of all, I want to say that, even though the the number of Greeks marrying Greek people is decreasing, statistically speaking, Greeks are the most likely immigrant group to marry within their group. Like that's just statistically speaking, and actually that's statistics from Australia, but I assume it holds true in the United States. Out of all of the immigrant groups in Australia, Greek Australians were the least likely to intermarry with any other group. So even though I think that the number is declining, I still think relative to other groups in the United States, we are in a little bit of a better position than most of them are. I mean, like, how many people have you met where they're like, "Oh yeah, like I'm Italian and I'm Irish and I'm also Czech." It's like they just kind of like pick whichever they want. Um, it's a common thing. But again, I am 21. I have a girlfriend of a year who I love very much, and she is from Greece. She was born in Greece, lived in Greece her whole life. And growing up, I never considered dating somebody who wasn't Greek. I never considered marrying somebody who wasn't Greek. And you're gonna laugh because at the time, even I thought this was ridiculous. My dad told me when we were kids that if we didn't marry a Greek girl, he wasn't coming to the wedding. So
Classic.
We've all heard it. We've all heard it.
he was pretty uptight about it. But at the same time, like I didn't just the natural inclination of a lot of kids is to rebel, do the opposite of what your parents say. But for me, like I also couldn't imagine having kids and like, oh yeah, we're gonna celebrate, Greek holidays and like I don't know, like Hungarian holidays. Like nothing bad about Hungarians, but it's like that's not my culture, and I don't know how I could have kids with that split identity. And I think that like I love being Greek. I want my kids to be Greek, and not just Greek. I want to be more Greek than I am. You know what I mean? I want them to have this as a core part of their life. And I think as a as someone who may be a parent someday, hopefully, God willing, like it just comes down to the values you instill in your child. It's like my dad told me when I was a kid, he's like, "Hey, being Greek is the greatest. Like you should love this. This is awesome," and that stuck with me. And I kind of want to impart that same attitude on my kids. Um, like, hey, like you're part of like the greatest group of people to ever walk the earth. Like this is badass. You should be really happy about that. So, for me, and I think for a lot of other kids my age, I think we're leaning into our Greek heritage a lot. Me and my older brother, and then, like we have a younger brother who's involved, and like my girlfriend, like we're not the only people that are involved in KTE. There's like 25 people who are, writing articles. They're, helping us with our website. Like they're doing all this stuff, and they care just as much as we do. So I think that, we are experiencing like a Hellenic Renaissance of sorts. Like people aren't just forgetting. Like there is good stuff happening.
Well, the other on a positive note, the other point that Angelo brought up earlier is that at this point where we are, even if you marry a non-Greek, usually the Greek overpowers everything else. It's
true.
like if you marry like an Italian or if you marry like whatever, like it's almost always the case that the Greek is gonna be the dominant. I mean,
well, true. No, because look, my first wife Ari was Greek. It didn't work out. My wife currently is Armenian, which is very, very much as close as you're going to get to Greek. So my daughter at 11, I'm on the road all the time. So I told we go to St. Sophia here in LA. And I said to my wife, you know what? It would be good to take our daughter to Greek dancing. to at least get her to learn to dance. Now, I'm on the road. So it's up to my wife. She starts taking her to Greek dance lessons at the church. Before you know it, she's on the St. Sophia Greek dance team. They go to FDF. My wife's now on the board working with them. She's working at the Panigiri. I just did a show fundraising for them. And it's interesting because my friend Lazo is a musician, came to FDF, Folk Dance Festival, which is a huge festival, if you guys know it, in the West Coast. It has like 60, 70 churches, thousands of people go. And the guy Lazo, who's from up north in Macedonia, he goes to me, your daughter's dancing Pondian. Like, this is a difficult dance. Your daughter, these kids are they're dressed up in full Pondian war gear. They're dancing Pondian because they don't speak Greek. They're singing in Greek. And now my daughter likes it. They change up the whole dance thing. So it's interesting.
But what we said, Angelo, is like your wife and your daughter, even though your daughter's half Armenian, half Greek, and your wife's Armenian, they're getting sucked in. Why?
To the vortex.
Because we are such a dominant culture.
We are. But at the same time, though, they have to be willing participants. I got other friends that say,
of course,
this. Yeah. I don't give a shit about the Greeks. I don't care. I'm not getting involved. That happens too. So the thing is,
I'll put everyone that gets sucked into the Greek culture like 10 to 1 to the people who are like, screw the Greeks. I don't want to be part of the Greeks. I will put them 10 to 1 easily.
Like Saturday night, I did a show. After the show, there was a group of them came up to take pictures. And then one girl says in front of them, she goes, well, I'm Italian. So she goes, I'm the only Italian here. And I go, well, it's nice that you upgraded with the Greeks. And then,
what else?
And she goes, really? I said, but they're going, her husband was like, so I think, but the thing is, I've had this conversation about language. We can speak conversational Greek. It's difficult. You need to speak it. And I've had this conversation when I do interviews in Greece. When we speak Greek to them, they think we're special needs. So they're kind of like, fellow, napame, volta, we can speak conversational Greek. I can speak Greek, but we miss stuff. And like Alexandros and Chris will agree, it's like we live in a North American society. So yes, I think as long as your heart is there, that's what matters the most. But I know when we go there and the Greeks laugh, I go, look, I get it. But when you guys come to America and then you go get pine pesukati, and then the guy goes, they stall. So I said, now you know how we feel. What does it matter?
Angelo, as you were saying all this, you just triggered a question for the guys. So we started off the show saying how like Greeks in the diaspora and in America kind of hold on to these Greek traditions like even stronger than the Greeks in Greece. And you guys said your piece on that. I'm just going to say very quickly, I remember we used to do Greek nights here. And like Greek nights were the thing. Like every single Greek kid that we knew were part of these Greek nights. It was all about going to the Greek nights. It was all about meeting each other at the Greek nights. It was about listening to the Greek music. It was the thing. The Greek dance. I mean, everybody who knew how to Greek dance, like this was their showcase. Like they were there.
Yeah.
And I remember my cousins from Greece came for a wedding. And they came here. And as part of like, showing them around, I brought them to one of our Greek nights. And they walked in and they were like, why is it like all Greek music? Why is everybody dancing Greek? And I'm like, it's a Greek night. They're like, why are you guys doing Greek night? And it just struck me as so odd.
Yeah.
But it makes you think like they're involved and they're part of that. And it's like nothing to them. It's like no big deal. It's just part of like everyday life that they kind of ignore. It's almost like saying like, I live in New York, but when's the last time you went to the Statue of Liberty? Like, I take it for granted because I'm always here. It's right in front of me, so I take it for granted. And that's what I thought about them. They were like, it's always there. They take it for granted. But here, it's like the thing for us to do. Like, we looked forward to it. We loved it. I mean, is that in your generation, like that younger generation, do you guys find that that's kind of like how it is?
Yeah. I mean, okay. There's a couple stories that come to mind, both from like, so me and Alexandros and Nikos, like our youngest brother, we go to a lot of y'all conferences. That's like 3 Greek nights in a row. Okay. We're also involved in a HEPA and all these things. I think what you're describing is sometimes local Greeks, right? Horio Greeks, Greek Greeks don't understand the diaspora very well. They don't understand our ways, the way we seek out our culture, the way we preserve it.
Yeah.
Couple stories again come to mind. Alexandros and I worked in Greece this last summer for a couple months at a restaurant on Milos. Our Greek got a lot better. It was an amazing experience. We went to like 4 panagidis a week. And at one of the first panagidis, we know a couple Greek dances. Alexandros takes Greek dance classes in Dallas. I picked up a few things at Ionian Village. So we're at this panagidi, and I'm like, geez, like these Greeks aren't very good at these dances. And then I remembered like, no, wait, like this is how they learn. This is them learning the dances in the Horio at the panagidi. Whereas just to draw a juxtaposition, just to draw a contrast, in America, we treat Greek dance sometimes like dance moms. Like it's like, this, get it right. Don't make a mistake. Like that is not what we found to be true in Greece. Please, Fotios, yeah.
You just gave me an idea. Greek dance mom shows.
Oh my
God.
Netflix. They would be vicious.
Sorry,
I
had to say that. Go ahead.
But oh my God, another story I just have to tell you guys. I mean, Alexandros and I are pretty. By the way, Angelo, I go to Saint Sophia as well. I sing in the choir there, so I'm the tenor in the back. I'll see you on Sunday. But Alexandros and I, when we're in Greece, we bring our suits. We treat going to church in Greece almost like you would in America, which obviously sometimes funny things ensue. We asked our young cousin Benis, who's like in between our ages. What is she, like 21 now, Alexander? Like, so we said, hey, where's the nearest church? We want to go to church on Sunday. This is in Kythera, a very small island. And she goes, you want to go to church with all the yayas? Only those people go to church. So what the hell are you doing?
What the hell's wrong with you? Like, why do you want to go to church? We're like, we always go to church. What are you talking about? You don't?
See?
Well, that's a classic example of what I'm talking about. Like here, we make it a point. Like it's part of our like personas. Like we go to church. But in Greece, it's like it's always there. It's always been there. It's always been a standard. So it's like almost like outdated. Like almost like, yeah, well, the Yayadas go, but like they don't go. Like that's the
funny thing. So that's why I bring up like what's the culture that our grandparents brought over here. That's like, again, we don't have a concept of modernity or secularism or like for us, because our Greek culture, when we think of our Greekness, we think of church. Like that's the number one thing that comes to our mind. Whereas, in Greece, it's been, 60, 70 years since our, grandparents were living there. And what did they do? They they went to church, and now their kids, culture's changed, society's changed, and now it's not a big deal for them. But, for us, our vision of Greece, our like Greek lifestyle, this is inseparable. They're the same thing practically.
True.
I don't want to say, I mean, everything we have comes from there, but we've evolved into kind of like, I don't want to say like a different species, but like, I'll just use the term. Like we've almost evolved into a different species as the Greeks in Greece from the Greek Americans and the Greek diaspora. And I feel like they're letting go and we're holding on. Does that sound weird? Does that sound right?
Alexandros, you want to hop in?
Yeah, we wrote an article about this. So the biggest thing I think is, again, that's why we talked about like colonialism. That was the whole point of that article, is that the American way of life, secular, sort of like this new Western thing that happened to France and Germany and Great Britain, where, again, increasing secularization, loss of traditional culture, traditional ways of speaking and dress, those went on the wayside, and they were replaced with sort of this cosmopolitan, neoliberal American culture. And I think the same thing is happening to Greece. So I don't think it's a unique thing that only Greece is experiencing. But while you're seeing, at the same time, Greeks in the diaspora today, I think, are more committed to preserving their culture. They're more committed to learning their language. People in Greece are moving in the opposite direction. And, the reason I say it's not unique is because if you look at a place like France, and you see how politically and socially their society has changed over the last, like 100 years, it's night and day. I mean, it's totally different. Same thing in Germany, same thing in Great Britain. Everyone kind of dresses the same. Everyone kind of talks the same. They use the same slang. Everyone kind of eats the same food. There's not really a lot of like a regional or national identity anymore. And I think now you're seeing that that sort of like cultural predator turn its head towards Greece, and that's what's happening. That's why there's more, like, there's Starbucks in Greece now. There's McDonald's in Greece now. Everyone's listening to trap music. Everyone's wearing like Adidas tracksuits, like they're living in like So this is, again, I don't think it spells defeat. I don't think we should be not like motivated by this, but I think it just shows that society is moving in one direction, and I would say that it is the wrong direction. It's moving away from all the things that make it unique. Greece is very beautiful, but Greece doesn't have a monopoly on beautiful places in the world. What Greece does have is it has an immensely deep and rich history. It has a culture with literally no comparison. It has the best music in the world. It has universally agreed upon the best food in the world. It has centuries of theology and scientific achievement and philosophy. So when I see a Greek person saying, "Oh, I'd rather listen to like trap music and like eat hamburgers," and I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, what's wrong with you? But again, so
let me hop in. I want to bring some connective tissue back into the conversation. I mean, what we were talking about a little bit earlier, it relates to this, right? Just like how Greeks sometimes misunderstand what we do as Greek Americans, as members of the Greek diaspora, they have the same sometimes misunderstanding of what modernization looks like, of what Westernization looks like. And Alexandros and I believe that Greece, at a minimum, has to be careful about which ways that it modernizes. We're not against general progress and improving the economy and, all of these great things. But it's interesting. Maybe you've all seen it.
It has to happen. All of these things have to happen with respect to national identity. So we did an Instagram like reel on this, where we said, there's two sorts of progress. There's the kind that respects tradition and national identity and ethnic identity and all these sorts of things, and there's the kind that doesn't. So when you have these sort of cultural and social changes that are happening in Greece, and you see the direction that Greece is moving in, if we're talking about increasing the GDP or like lowering the tax rate or like common sense solutions that put Greece on the right track, we aren't like reactionaries in that sense. We believe in progress. We believe in building a better future, but it has to happen while maintaining the fundamental realities of being Greek. It has to uphold all of those things, and it has to do so with giving credence to the Greek culture and treating the people with respect and dignity. And again, this whole project is inherently political. And so that's why, when I see the European Union and how they're treating Greece and just kind of like dragging them around, to me, that's something that we need to stand against. When I see the same thing happening with, again, cultural values are changing, tastes in music and food are changing. Like, that's objectively not a good thing. So again, maybe I'm getting off track a little bit, but
I think you're right on. Alex.
You're raising great points.
Think about it. Starbucks didn't work in Greece for a long time. Now it does.
Mm-hmm.
Same with McDonald's. And what you're saying is spot on. The thing is, I think Chris said this: you can't change progress, but at the same time, I think it's also, guys, and we have to take this in consideration: socioeconomics.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you said it earlier, Alexandros, that they're still coming out of this horrible economic downturn that they went through, and they were basically abused by the IMF and with the rest of it. And the Greeks are digging out of that now. But you see the way they look at now, we have this thing called the internet. So now I can go on the internet, and again, and this is, I think I can compartmentalize this. I got money. I go to Greece. I'm balling. I love Greece. We're on the islands, Malacca, the beautiful girls. We had souvlaki, blah, blah, blah. But I'm leaving. In a month, 2 months, I'm leaving. I'm going home, back to my life. So these people, when the tourists are gone, are there. So what happens now is that we're mistaking it. So the Greeks are, look, in January, February, March, when things are tough, kriasi, inflation, stuff that people, pensions, all this kind of stuff. And that's why people flock out of it. So on one hand, as much as they love it, on the other, look at the Antonacombo brothers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're Nigerian illegal immigrants in Greece, and the Greeks didn't want them. And they're proud. And then once he got drafted by the NBA, no, they're Greek. What are you talking about? And I know them. And you know what? Good on them. They acknowledge Greece. They're Greek. They speak it. They write it. They play for the basketball team. I know Thanasi. I know Yet. They are Greek. So it's amazing. And they have every right not to be. Right. But they're like, no, we're Greeks. But you see, it's funny because and I'm not just saying Greece. Look at the whole world now. We live in LA. You're living in California. Gas is hitting $6 again, $6.50 a gallon here. It goes up and down depending what part of town you're
in. Yeah, Angelo, it's a big problem. And sorry to cut you off, but by the way, talking about misunderstandings, misconceptions again, and I'll let you finish. You know, my relatives in Greece think LA is paved with gold.
Yes. Yes.
They have no idea the problems that we have here. They think
a lot of problems.
Rich. They think we have money to burn. And just to add a dab more realism into this conversation, I recently graduated from Loyola Marymount University. I had a good GPA. I minored in Greek language, by the way.
Nice.
I ran a newspaper. I applied to over 100 jobs and I didn't get a single one. So the reason why that's relevant is you can call Alexandros and I idealists or romantics, but if the Antetokounmpo brothers can do this and claim Greek identity, the diaspora certainly can.
Absolutely.
Plus all those
You're
things,
a great example of it.
Alexandros and I are going to marry Greek. We're going to move back to Greece. We're going to do our military service and we're going to raise our families there. We want to be part of this solution that we're peddling, because if you don't do it, who the hell else is going to listen to us?
If I can add to what you just said, Christophoros, and Angelo, to what you just mentioned as well, I was at a very unique opportunity last night where Prime Minister Mitsotakis is in New York City and gave a talk in a story which I attended. And part of his presentation was speaking to the diaspora and to us as Greek Americans of how important to them and to him specifically for us to continuously support Greece by visiting, not just the summers, as you mentioned, Angel, because tourism in Greece outside of the Greek diaspora are what, 1 week, 10 days, 2 weeks at best. Most Greeks from the diaspora will be visiting Greece more than that, whether it be a month, 2 months, and so forth. So their participation to the economy in Greece is by far superior than the tourism that Greece receives.
Of course.
Right? That's sorry to interrupt you. One of the things that I've written about extensively is tourism is the lifeblood of the Greek economy, as you correctly pointed out. I don't know, most of the Greek economy, or at least a plurality of the Greek economy, is based around service. But one of the problems is, again, so Mitsotakis is talking about how they need foreign investment. That's why his government has invited in a lot of foreign national corporations. They, like when they, lease the Port of Piraeus, all of these sorts of things, trying to get cash into the economy. Well, one of the issues that I take, and again, to be a little bit critical of Mr. Mitsotakis, is basically he's inviting people in, but not all of these people, not all these foreign corporations are here to make Greece a better place. They're here to make money, which again, you can believe that they have a right to do that, but they're here to make money, put in essentially as little as they can and take out as much as they can because they're trying to run a business. Greek diaspora have a fundamentally different mindset when it comes to supporting the Greek economy. So you mentioned like our support, even in tourism, is considerably more substantial than the average Europeans or the average Americans. And one of the reasons why is because Greeks in the diaspora have a deep and profound respect and loyalty to their homeland. So what we don't give with the expectation that we're going to get something back. We give because we love our country. We go because we want to see our family. We go because we really love the everything. I mean, the food, the culture, the music, everything. So again, like if the economic policy of the current government is to bring in foreign capital, again, it should be looking to the diaspora. It should be looking to people who can provide a similar amount of foreign capital, but again, maintain respect for the culture, respect for the people. Don't give to Greece like a business, but give to Greece like it's your country, which is what it is for us, So sorry to interrupt, but I had to go on that.
No, that's great points. Very good
points.
Yep.
Well, look, guys, this has been a great conversation today.
We could go on for hours and hours on these subjects.
But I have a feeling we're going to bring these guys back on at some point again.
Yeah, I think we need
more stuff we can talk about. KTE, that's the website. Ari's going to post everything. I think people are going to find this conversation with you, Alexandros, and your brother Chris. You're two sharp guys. Your heart's in the right place. You're definitely patriots for Greece. You're championing the Greek word, and I think we're all doing it, and that's why we're all here talking about it. I think we're all doing it in our own individual yet collective ways, and that's good. And you know what? If people see this, maybe they'll understand it better and realize how important it is, not just for us, for our kids and their kids, to keep your identity. Identity is so important today, and a lot of people don't know who they are. You two definitely know who you are. So I'm so happy you guys came on the show.
For the age bracket, for the generation that they represent, man, I hope all your peers are as sharp and well knowledged as you guys are, because you guys definitely understand what's going on. You know, again, when I was 21 and 23, I could barely pee straight. You guys understand what's going on. It's very impressive to me and commendable that you guys can be a representation of our youth here in America, at least.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, Foti, we'd love to be back on at some point. You guys are class acts. It's been a great, casual, substantive conversation. Last thing I'll say on behalf of KTE, this is a movement built on Greek pride, built on Greek identity, and Greek heritage. And I think a lot of Greeks can get behind that. So not to dive right into the elevator pitch, but you'll know where to find us. We're on every platform, and we can't wait to engage with every Greek.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Bravo, guys.
Thanks, guys.
I commend you guys for what you do, for who you are, and for the knowledge that you bring, especially representing this generation, because, part of me always worries about the future of the Greek culture here in America, at least. And, knowing that you guys kind of get it and you're on top of it, I feel much more comfortable that we're in good hands in our future. So once again, Christo, Alexandro, KTE, thank you so much. As always, thank you, Foti, thank you, Angelo, and thank you everybody out there for watching and listening. We are going to have all of Christo and Alexandro's information, the links, everything they want in the public sphere, we're going to have in our notes. Thank you all for watching and listening. Thank you once again very much, Alexandros Christos. Thank you, Foti and Angelo. And thanks everybody out there. We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.